Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. The current discussions surrounding Iraq's budget tables, the hydrocarbon law, HCL, Kurdish salary pipeline payments, and Article 12-2C reflect a pivotal stage in the nation's path toward financial reform and currency stability. For years, these elements have remained in separate lanes, delayed by political gridlock, sectarian disagreements, and security threats, both internal and external. Now, according to insider sources and figures like Frank, there appears to be significant convergence. All of these crucial components are finally aligning, potentially ushering in a dramatic financial shift, possibly even a new exchange rate for the Iraqi dinar. Let's unpack what this means in deeper detail, starting with the recent assertion that the Kurdish salaries and pipeline agreements are now reflected in the budget tables. This is a substantial development because, historically, Iraq's central government and the Kurdistan Regional Government, KRG, have been locked in disputes over oil revenue sharing and payment of Kurdish public sector wages. The KRG has long sought autonomy in managing its oil exports, especially via the pipeline to Turkey, while the federal government in Baghdad has insisted on centralized control. The HCL was designed to address this issue comprehensively by setting a clear legal framework for oil production, export, and revenue sharing. However, the law has remained in limbo due to political contention. Now, if these salary payments and pipeline arrangements have indeed been inserted into the budget tables, this marks more than just a bureaucratic adjustment. It signals that there may be an official framework finally being enforced. This would be consistent with the full or partial implementation of the HCL. What's particularly important here is that the HCL was always viewed as a necessary step toward economic normalization. The revenues from oil exports, accounting for the vast majority of Iraq's income, must be equitably distributed among all provinces, including Kurdistan, in order to stabilize the economy, reduce unrest, and satisfy the international community's expectations of fairness and transparency. Furthermore, the mention of Article 12-2C brings us into more specific constitutional and legislative territory. This clause likely refers to a subcomponent of Iraq's financial laws or budgetary resolutions that links revenue distribution, government obligations, or economic reform to the actions and conditions being satisfied by different parties. When these articles are invoked in budget negotiations, it's typically to enforce a compliance mechanism that holds all parties, Baghdad, the KRG, and perhaps even foreign stakeholders, accountable to the same economic and legal standards. By safeguarding this rate within the Gazette, Iraq's central planners may have bought themselves precious time, enabling internal reforms to take root, laws to be finalized, and institutions to become resilient enough to handle the transition. The idea here is not that the rate is merely a number. It represents a recalibration of Iraq's economic identity. When a nation changes its exchange rate, especially if it involves a revaluation or return to former values, it signals an entirely new era of policy direction, economic independence, and international engagement. Now, let's turn to the way all of this is being framed as being tied together. This suggests that the movement on the HCL, Kurdish payments, Article 12-2C, and the budget tables is not happening in isolation. Rather, it's being orchestrated in a tightly sequenced fashion. The sequence might look like this. First, implement and reflect the HCL mechanisms in the budget. Second, secure Kurdish buy-in through salary payments and pipeline negotiations. Third, invoke Article 12-2C to enforce conditions across all parties. Fourth, hand the final verdict over to the Supreme Justice for legal ratification. And finally, unlock the rate. This rate is more than a financial figure. It's the linchpin that ties the entire reform package together. And its timing is crucial. Frank's speculation that the rate was protected from Iran takes on more urgency in the current geopolitical climate. As tensions between Iran and Western powers, especially the United States, increase, Iraq finds itself in a delicate position. It is economically dependent on both sides, yet politically pulled in opposite directions. By hiding the rate until now, Iraq may have succeeded in keeping a low profile on a major policy shift that could provoke foreign interference. Now, however, with legal protections in place, political agreements secured, and the final decision pending from the highest court in the land, the timing for release may be ideal. We must also consider the significance of including these elements in the budget tables. The budget is not just a fiscal document, It's a blueprint for how Iraq will operate in the coming year. By embedding these provisions into the budget tables, Iraq is laying out its roadmap in a legally binding, operational framework. This isn't just a plan, it's a commitment. It means ministries must comply, funds must be allocated accordingly, and the groundwork for any currency-related decision must be prepared in financial terms. Essentially, Iraq is loading the software before rebooting the system. The shift in narrative also reflects confidence. In previous years, Iraq's political figures hesitated to speak openly about rate changes, HCL enforcement, or budget transparency. The fact that insiders are now referencing all of these in tandem and invoking the role of the Supreme Justice suggests a new phase of confidence and control. The language being used implies that a comprehensive solution has been crafted and that only one final stamp remains before implementation. It's worth considering the strategic communication angle as well. When statements like these are made public, or even semi-public, they are often intended to signal international markets, potential investors, and even domestic actors. The message being sent is clear. Iraq is organizing itself for a major fiscal evolution. The institutions are aligned. The budget is in place. The law is ready. The supreme judiciary is the last hurdle. The rate is not an isolated policy decision. It is the fruit of systemic change. In conclusion, what we are witnessing may very well be the culmination of years of hard-fought reforms, negotiations, and strategic patience. The integration of HCL, Kurdish payments, Article 12-2C, and the exchange rate into a single synchronized plan, with final legal approval pending, is a sign of maturity in Iraq's financial and political system. Frank's assertion that the rate was hidden in the Gazette for its own protection now appears not just plausible, but probable. Protecting it from sabotage, misinformation, or misuse by hostile actors may have been essential. Now, however, with systems fortified, the legal process engaged, and all components tied together, the rate may soon emerge into the light, ushering in a new era for Iraq's economy and currency. Thanks for tuning in to Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.